Item C, receive a report and update regarding the California Department of Housing and Community Development's review of the draft housing element.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. The purpose of this item is to report on an update of the housing element of the city's update of the housing element. This City Council held a study session in August to review the housing element and provided comments, which staff incorporated into the document and submitted to the State Department of Housing and Community Development. The state conducted its 60-day review of the housing element and reported their findings to the city in a letter in mid-November. Most of HCD's comments are relatively minor, requiring clarification and additional explanation and analysis, and staff is preparing a memorandum to respond to the state's comments. However, the state did have one significant concern regarding the housing element program that addresses the requirement to plan for homeless housing in the city. The state is concerned that the 10-bed size limit in the program does not provide a realistic opportunity for development of emergency shelters. The requirement is based on SB 2, a law that was adopted in the last year for this housing element cycle, and it requires cities to identify a zone or zones where homeless shelters are allowed as a permitted use without a conditional use permit to ensure that zoning encourages and facilitates homeless shelters. San Bruno has an identified need for 32 homeless shelter beds based on the county homeless census and survey, which was conducted in January of 2009. SB 2 does allow flexibility for local governments to apply written objective development and management standards for homeless shelters, including the maximum number of beds or persons permitted to be served nightly. However, neither the legislation nor HCD state what that maximum size is, and what would be appropriate for the community. The City Council discussed this issue extensively at the study session, and recognizing the importance of this issue, and the council designated the new transit-oriented development area as a zone where homeless shelters are permitted in San Bruno, and also endorsed the idea of a 10-bed limit. The council recognized the need to balance several interests, including the city's willingness to do its part to meet the critical needs of the homeless population and the state requirements, but the city also has to consider the impact on the community. Staff is recommending revising Program 6D, which addresses the homeless housing in the city, to remove the limit on the number of shelter beds and to state that the city will develop written objective standards for homeless shelters using specific language from SB 2. In addition, the housing element would state that the city will coordinate with homeless service providers such as the Interfaith Hospitality Network and the Peninsula Clergy Network, as well as the 21 Elements countywide consortium of cities that are working on housing elements as a group, to determine appropriate standards for emergency shelters in San Bruno and to draft language to include in the zoning code update. Staff will submit its response to HCD's comments within the next week, and then we'll discuss, we'll have a phone conference with the HCD reviewers to discuss the proposed revisions. And once HCD endorses the revision, staff will bring the final housing element to the City Council for approval. And with that, I'd be interested in taking any direction from the City Council.
Through the chair, a couple things. One, I know the state on the SB2, they had said that obviously 10, they say, is not feasible.
Correct.
Even though we do have currently an existing 10-bed facility within our community. So it can work. And it's sometimes, often that I think the state says what what it won't allow, but doesn't offer any solutions or alternatives or suggestions to us. It's my first observation, but the second is on the 10 that are currently in St. Bruno's. Does that help us with our 32 count that's required?
No, it doesn't. The homeless count was actually, there were 55 total homeless, and 32 of those were unsheltered. So the others are sheltered, and that includes the 10 beds in the San Bruno, at the San Bruno Catholic Church.
Okay. Questions, comments?
There's, through the chair. Well, first of all, on the very first line, they keep referring to them as emergency shelters.
Yeah.
Do we have to use that language? It's very misleading.
No, I agree with you. I think that I think we should more consistently use homeless
Great.
shelters,
Okay.
because that really is the intent. Yes.
So our basic decisions, we've already talked about it being transit-oriented development area, so we've already agreed to do that. And then I think the rest of the things that you're going to be looking at, that's, I can't think of anything to add to what you've done. So,
Okay.
go for it.
Anything else? You have your direction, Mark?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We do.
Thank you for the report.